All right, we ready to rock?
Yep, did you guys get the record notification?
Yes.
All right, we're ready when you are.
Okay, cool. So welcome everyone to our fourth GOTeam meeting. We're going to follow the agenda here that Jay has up on the screen, and it's been emailed and publicly noticed. We do have public comment today. Did we know if anyone signed up for a comment? Did we get that?
We have a couple people. I didn't get anybody, but we have a couple people in here that maybe want to speak at the end, and we can just open it up. I'm okay with that.
Okay, perfect. All right. So we are going to officially call the meeting to order here at 3:32. And our first order of business is to call roll. So Kim, take it away. I think you're on mute, Kim. Sorry.
Sorry. Like I said, I just moved, so I'm like living in boxes. So
Oh, that's right.
okay. Don't worry, I'm still in district. Not like I literally moved down the same street. I'm on my same street.
Total pain though. Moving is a pain.
Yeah. Okay. Order. Jay, Thomas,
Present.
Ashley, Scott,
Here.
Lynn, Miss Minnock, I saw you. Yay. Maggie.
Present.
Mindy.
I'm here, but I'm gonna be driving in a little bit, so I'm gonna have to turn off my camera. Okay, thanks.
No problem. And I saw her walking.
I'm here. Same as Mindy. I'm gonna have to get off camera first.
Okay, and then Ashley. And then LaJoy. Ashley Mathis.
LaJoy's here. I'm letting her in right now if you want to mark her present.
Okay, so we are all here.
Okay, so sounds good. Is there a quorum present? I'm gonna say yes.
Letting a few people back in. I don't know if they're getting kicked out. Ashley's iPhone and Ashley again, so she may be kind of coming in and out, just so you know. Ashley Mathis.
Yeah, Ashley.
I am present. I got disconnected somehow.
That's okay. I got you. Everyone
Thank you.
Got everyone here.
Okay, awesome. So our first action item is to approve the agenda, which we've got. Hopefully everyone got a chance to look at it. Couple action items. We're going to be ranking. We're going to have a strategic plan update. Jay, you want to rank before the discussion items, before the fall to winter map data, or do we do that first?
No, that'll all be part of my PowerPoint. So it's actually laid out pretty well on here.
Okay, perfect. And so Jay will give us a report on that.
I'm sorry. And actually, you're right. If we have to vote on the strategic plans, then we have to vote on the strategic plan and the priorities, and we'll do that when I get to my discussion items. So yeah.
Okay, cool. And then we do have public comment today. So anyone who'd like to come off at the end after discussion, you are welcome to comment then. So I don't think there's any changes to the agenda. Does anyone have anything? Does that look okay?
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda.
All right.
That's in order.
I'll second.
Perfect. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Sorry, who seconded that? I missed it.
Aye.
Mindy seconded. Thomas.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
All right. So it looks like the agenda is approved. All right, we're next going to review and approve the meeting minutes from our last meeting, and Kimberly sent those out this week. Do we have any corrections to the meeting minutes? I know there were a lot because the last meeting was in person. So if there are no corrections, can I have a motion to approve the previous meeting minutes?
I motion to approve the previous meeting minutes.
Thank you, Ina. A second.
I second the motion.
All right, I think that was LaJoy and someone else. We'll go with LaJoy. All in favor, please say aye.
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 All opposed, nay. Any abstentions? Okay. All right, so I think we are on to our strategic plan update.
All right. Is it on me now, Ashley?
Yes.
Okay, great. Let me stop my share and get my PowerPoint going. All right. Well, first of all, thank you everyone for being here. The bulk of the work that we're doing today in today's meeting is voting, and we did a lot of the work kind of in between our meetings and in our last meeting. So I just want to kind of remind you again and thank you for providing your input. For those of you that reached back out to me and provided a little bit of feedback on the strategic plan or talked through a few things with me, thank you for that. And I think we're in a really, really good spot. The goal today is to move through this PowerPoint, and then we do a vote. And we're ready for our budget season, what's going to come right after we come back from break. And that's going to be a fun one. And we're excited to do that. I love doing that work with GOTeam. Of course, I printed like all these handouts for some reason. And I was like, wait, we're on Zoom. So I do have, hope maybe you have our strategic plan from the last one. If not, I have copies waiting for you at Morris Brandon main campus. Feel free to come by and pick one up. But I'm also going to share it on my screen. We're going to get a chance to look at our map data. You're the very first ones to take a look at it, school-wide data from fall to winter. I always let our GOTeam know everything first before we start to trickle it back out to our community and even our teachers and our grade levels. So we're going to look at school-wide data today, and then we'll take a look at those strategic priorities that y'all ranked, and we'll go to vote. Feel free to stop me on anything you want. This is not new. You guys are data experts now. But this is a little bit of our agenda that you saw on our other agenda. I also did notice, Ashley, that the agenda was not posted on our website today for some reason. I think Lindsay may have missed it, so I just shot it over to her real quickly and told her to put it on there. So we just want to make sure it's on there, you know, at some point today and tomorrow.
Got it. I'll follow up too.
All right, we've done all of this. Strategic plan development, our needs assessment, we went through our CIP one time. Last week, we looked through all of our priorities and our data, and now we are here. Let's talk a little bit around our data. So as you know, we give the MAP assessment 3 times throughout the year, fall, winter, spring. It measures achievement and growth for reading and math. And then we also give the assessment for science in 5th grade, and I don't want to forget that. And we also give the assessment for our DLI students in Spanish. Today, we're going to look at 3 assessments. We're going to look at reading, we're going to look at math, and we're going to look at our 5th grade science. And science was important because if you remember, actually, you don't know our CCRPI flags. That was our staff that saw that one. I will also tell you that we have 4 buckets that came out with CCRPI. This is something that we've talked about. All 4 buckets have numbers now for Morris Brandon. They're not going to give our school an overall score, but CCRPI is the only way in Georgia that we really give a rating and a ranking to our schools. So I'm excited to have those numbers. I just can't share them yet. Everything is embargoed, and APS is going to do a press release. I want to say before we leave for break next December, and some of those will start becoming more public. So we have, just so remember, we do have scores from 0 to 100 for content mastery, for progress, which is that growth, for readiness, which is some of the attendance and other areas, and then for our flags for meeting our subgroups where they are. So there's kind of 4, and we have scores for all of those, and it's a score from 0 to 100.
Jay, what was that again? Content mastery,
content mastery, readiness, progress, and the last bucket is I'm drawing a blank. I call it flags, but I it's got a name. Subgroups. I'm sorry. It's subgroups. It's how our subgroups did on meeting their targets. Mindy, maybe you remember that name. I'm drawing a complete blank right now on that last one. But I'll think of it before the end of the meeting, I'm sure.
And you think next week they'll
I think I saw a press release on December 14th.
Okay.
Yep. And then we can take that data and send it over to our good friends in California.
You're going to do that. That's right.
Yes. Thank you, Kelly. Kelly knows too. Kelly's a visitor on our call today, but she is a parent who is she is a CFO of KIP, and APS. So she's a great resource to have on our GOTeam. All right, so take a look at our fall data. So on the top, you're going to see you're always going to see our fall data. It's this line right here. Right below it, you're going to see the winter. You're talking about 4 months of instruction, maybe a little bit less. I have it broken out from reading kindergarten, reading K5, but then I also break it down by 3-5 because 3-5 is that grade level that's going to tell us really like the milestones, and I want to make sure I know that. So I think it's important that we separate K5 and then 3-5 too. Math is down here, and then math is down here for 3-5. I'm going to walk you through it quickly, but we're all smart, and we can probably read this data set. You can see the goal on this would be to reduce our red learners and to increase our distinguished learners and green learners. We want to see our struggling learners move away from beginning, and we want to increase our proficiency. When you talk about things like CCRPI, this dark green is what gets you more points. You would earn 1.5 points for a distinguished score. You would earn 1 point for a proficient score, 0.5 for a developing score, and 0 for beginning, if we're talking milestones. So we always want to see that. You can see here that we have a few less tests, and that's just primarily because we're still doing some makeups, but we lose a few kids too throughout the year. They come and they go, and it's not always there. But I wouldn't say it's going to be something that's going to impact the data too much, and they're probably still testing. But you can see here that we decreased our beginning learners by 2% school-wide.
Hi, buddy.
I'm gonna put Ashley.
Your sweatshirt is in the dryer.
For 1 second. There we go. I could do that here. And then and you can see that we increased our proficient distinguished learners by about, what is that, 4%, right? 3%. 36 and 33 is 69, plus that is 70. So it's like a 1%, but the 2% increase in literacy on distinguished learners is powerful, and that's good. Take a look at 3-5 to make sure the trend is still the same from K2 to 3-5. You can see that our proficiency even goes up a little bit higher. So right now we're sitting at 73% proficient when we started the year at a 71% proficient. And if you remember our strategic plan, our goal is to get to 76% proficient. So instead of 5% gap now we're at about a 3% gap or 2% gap, which is great. We're moving in the right direction with literacy. Take a look down here at math. Math was always a big concern. We want to see how our kids are doing. K5, you can see the proficiency was a lot lower, but we definitely decreased our beginning learners and we increased our proficient learners. We are moving in the right direction. Team, I'm telling you, this is because of the hard work of our teachers and our kids, and not every school looks this way. And it's important to know that when you already have high achieving schools like we are considered, right? 70% of our kids are on grade level. The fact that we are still growing is great, and not just resting on our laurels of proficiency. Take a look at math down here, 3-5. We kept the same amount of distinguished learners. We still decreased our beginning, and we even increased our proficiency by 2%. Questions around this slide? We're going to talk a little bit more around what I like to measure, because it's very, very hard to move proficiency. We have kids in our school that are beginning that will never be developing. It's going to take a lot of work to get them there. And we are aware of that, but we want to see these kids grow. Growth is where the money is. And that's where it's going to show us how effective our teachers are compared to students and teachers across the state and the country. So let's talk a little bit about growth.
Jay, what was the goal for math?
Math was 69 to 74%, and reading was 71 to 76%. We're going to look at the strategic plan in a second. Yeah, 69 to 74 is math, and 71 to 76 is reading. Those are hard to get. Those are lofty goals. Increasing proficiency by 5% in a year when you're already sort of at that 70% proficiency can be challenged, but we're going to try and do it. Let's go to the next slide. I want to show you, these are quintiles. We take a look at this and we look at them really hard. A quintile is 5 measures of growth. We typically say that you want all your kids from the yellow over. So if we're looking at reading and we're looking at K5, 34% of our students had very high growth. That means a growth percentile over an 80. That means that our students outperformed 80% of kids, of 9 million kids across the world that are like them. It's a very large sample group. Add another 17 and another 14 in here. You can do the math in your head, but For reading K-5 out of 54 schools, that puts Morris Brandon at number 5. But this is growth. This is not achievement. We already know we're top 5 for achievement, but it is difficult to be a top 5 achievement school, but also be in that growth category. If I don't share like schools with us, but you're not going to see a lot of like schools like Brandon that are in the other top 5. That shows you that we are doing a great job with reading, literacy, growth, in a school-wide. Drop down, I do want to show you how it looks for 3-5. 3-5 inevitably is going to be a little bit lower because just kindergartners just grow so much. Like they grow so much from the time they come in this building, and that really does pick the K2 up a little bit. But if you look at 3-5, having these growth percentiles, this is over an 80, this is over a 60, and this is over a 40. Typical growth, they say, is between 40 and 60. So even having 16 in the yellow and 14 in the yellow is still typical growth. We want kids to be between that 40 and 60, but the 80th percentile and above is almost where the bulk of our students are lying. If you look at that, that's great data. So take a look at this. It puts us at 3-5 at number 11 out of 54. But again, we drop a little bit, but we're talking middle schools and high schools and 54 schools in APS and not charter schools. And you're not going to see, again, all of the like schools like Brandon ahead of us. So if I were to, there's 5 like schools. We say Morningside, Virginia Highland, Jackson, Mary Lynn, and Springdale Park. If you were to look at that top 11, you may or may not see all of those schools there. Take a little bit of look at math. Math still has the highest number of 80 percentile and above sitting right here, and that is K-5. That puts math in the top 10 as well in the district, which is something that is awesome. And you can even look that we even had more students grow out of the red in K-5 than we even did in reading. So we were able to move a lot of those lower babies in math that needed that support. But also we had less students that had less growth as opposed to reading that you'll see here. And then we could take a look at math 3-5. And if we were to look at a focus area, this could potentially be one. You can see that our number drops down, and that's because our kindergarten first and especially second grade blew math out of the water. They crushed the math. They did a great job. But if we were to look for pockets of main campus, there are grade levels that were still much, much stronger than some other ones. Number 19 out of 54 is not the greatest ranking, if you're going to say percentile-wise. And you can see how we do drop a little bit for math in the 3-5. But remember, this is just growth. If we're talking about achievement, math 3-5, we still grew 2%. We just didn't move as many kids as we did in some of these other bands. Okay? But this type of growth is not the only type of growth we look at. We're also going to look at students that have to hit their growth target. Every time you take a MAP assessment, it's going to tell you where a typical student should be the next time they take it. And it's called a growth target. So let's talk for a second around this. These are the percentiles for growth, but let's talk about the percentages of students that met or exceeded their growth target. Okay. I'm going to put this right here. Hopefully you can see my screen. Now we're going to talk about reading K-5. This puts Morris Brandon at number 6 out of 54. And again, I'm not talking about, we're talking about every school in APS. And for growth, you're not always going to see those highest achieving schools at the top. You see all sorts of schools that are really doing great things with their kids. But what Morris Brandon is doing is we are having higher achievement paired with high growth as well. So we are, in my mind, if I'm looking at our mission and vision, we are giving every student what they need to be successful. I can always filter this out, and we can take a look at our subgroups. I did not put that data in here because I could sit here all day and go through it, but we could take a look at our Black and Hispanic students and how they've grown, as well as our students with disabilities. In reading, 62%, that's 56 here, plus another 6% here, have met or exceeded their growth target. That's a great, great number. Reading 3-5, 58%. Anything between 40 and 60 is what we're aiming for, and 60 is high. So we're very close to having nearly 60% of our school in 3-5. So students in 3-5 reach their growth target. They're at 58%. For math K-5, right around that 60 percentile. Really, really high growth. 54 plus 6 is 60% of our students met their growth target. And then you can see math 3-5 down here, a little bit lower, 51%. 51% is not a bad number for reaching your growth target. Not every kid meets their growth target, but at the same time, if we're looking for an area of support and growth, we want to continue to take a look at some of this data in 3-5 in math and make sure that all of our students are getting kind of what they need to be successful. Any questions on proficiency K2 or K5 reading and math? Quintiles K2, K5 reading and math, and then growth target percentages. And if there's any teachers that want to share anything or talk about anything they've done in their class, I know Maggie's probably on here. My daughter's in her class, but they absolutely did amazing on their math test in there. So I just want to give a shout out to our teachers, because this data, when you look on it with the big picture, and I can actually see the schools and the ones that are ahead of us, really puts Brandon, in my opinion, in a very good light. I like to show this one. You're going to see other schools on this one. I don't know if I'm going to get in trouble for this, but I'm going to show you. This is what the district puts out as a growth and achievement quadrant. We're taking a look at our 4 quadrants here. Bottom left is low growth, low achievement. Bottom right is high achievement, low growth. Top left is high growth but lower achievement. And then top right is high growth, high achievement.
Where are we?
I'll show you. I'll show you. The colors all have to do with the cluster. We're a purple cluster. This is us right here.
Oh, okay. And what's our quadrant again?
So so this is XY. So the X-axis right here is achievement. The Y-axis is growth. You want to sort of be in this top right quadrant.
Okay.
This is for reading. And this is us right here.
Go us, that's great.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's really good data.
Right here, K5 reading. And that's what the district looks like, is K5. You know, we'll drill it down even more. But
why
where's
is it that our plot doesn't have a name?
That's a great question. I honestly think it probably just didn't fit there. I really don't. If I'm on my actual graph, I can hover my thing over it and our name will come up and it'll show everything. I really don't know. The next one does have it on there.
No, I'm glad you said that. I just want to make sure you weren't picking like the one data point.
Right. No, that's us, I promise. And then let's take a look at math. Anybody see us on math?
Yeah.
Yes, and we're there again too.
Right there. Okay. Take a purple schools are North Atlanta schools.
I think what's helpful about this is that they were 5th or 6th or 7th. When you look at this graph, you can see how close we actually are to some of these schools. So we might be 5th, but you can see, or whatever it is, but you can see just how close, being 5th doesn't mean we're that far off. It just means that everybody was kind of around the same spot. And so when we looked at this together as a grade, we were like, oh, that looks way better. When you see it like that, especially with, is this one math?
This one is math. Here's reading.
You go back to the reading. When you go to reading right there, us scoring achievement wise at the same level as Morningside, but then having higher growth, that's a big deal. And then just being right there, right behind. So wait, we were 5th in growth, I think, is that right? So we're looking at these schools like Scott and West Manor that were low achievement, high growth. When you're scoring lower, you've got higher to go. There's more room for growth. So that's a really big deal when we start to look. And they didn't beat us by that much when you're looking at that access. So I really like this visual. And we actually have these for our individual classes with our students on them. And I've used this, but covering up the names and only showing like one student at a time to either parents or to the child. And it's really helpful just to visualize. Sometimes those numbers can feel a little abstract. So I'm glad you pulled this in the presentation, Jay.
Yeah, thank you. And I have this plot graph for everything, and I can press a button and I have all 888 students on here, and one color's girls and one color's boys. And it's really great to see like just all sorts of splattered paint like right around here. Like you can't even make the dots out. Like down here, you can kind of just really drill down to the kids individually. Up here, it's just a bunch of paint. So you can't even tell.
Good.
But we're not done yet.
Too. That they're up there too. It's good to see Bolton up there.
Yeah,
in that.
Bolton did very, very well on their growth.
Yep.
They did a great job. And of course, I'm never comparing our schools to anybody else. It is not apples to apples in APS. We want to compare ourselves. There's really 5 schools that we compare ourselves to with achievement and growth. And even then, it's not so much apples to apples between us and them, because I could go down our subgroups and I could go down our percentage of students that are non-white or that are that need free or reduced lunch, which is higher than those schools. But I still like to hold us accountable to them because they're going to push us to greatness.
Yeah.
We're not done yet, though. There's one more test. Can't forget about science in 5th grade. Science was a focus for us. We did not perform as well as I wanted to on the milestones last year. We put a lot of things in place. This is a super big shout out to our 5th grade team. And I just want to show you where we are with our science map assessment that we never really gave until this year, but I signed ourselves up for that. I will tell you a full caveat is that not every school gives the science, but there's a large amount of schools that decide to give their science. But take a look at the percentage of 5th graders that met their growth target. That is higher than, get over here, that is higher than any of our reading or math. Okay, any of our reading or math right here. So our 5th graders in science, 67% of them got to where they were supposed to go between the fall and the winter. And we can see that really high, that 32% of them had growth over the 80th percentile, which if you look over here, you really only see school-wide reading beating that. So I got to give a shout out to our 5th grade teachers and our 5th grade students, of course, for taking what we've done with science. Because if you don't know, we've contracted out with basically a STEM specialist. In our foundation, I'd have to show them this data. They're going to love it. Our foundation really paid about $10,000 to hire a contractor to help rewrite transdisciplinary 5th grade science units. And we purchased what's called VEX kits, robotic kits that they can use now, and they can embed those into their science. So this is just a really good example of what 3 or 4 months of kind of hands-on science learning can do. So I just wanted to put that on there as well so you guys could see that. I know Maggie's got a 5th grader. I'm sure she helped.
So I have one too.
Oh, yeah, you do, Ashley. And so does Ina, and so does,
Yeah.
yeah, a lot of y'all do. So
We're happy to see this data.
yeah, it's good. All right, so a couple things, and we don't have to kind of dwell on this too much. What do you notice? What are your wonderings, and what additional questions do you have? I'll kind of just open up to the floor for a minute if you want to ask any questions or just want to share any thoughts, or we can move on. Give it a second. I had a quick wait time.
One wondering I had, I know you didn't show this in the slide, but as we later on move into ranking, looking at our subgroups, like which ones are the ones that maybe really hit those growth targets and which ones did not, so we can kind of think about where we're going to focus, maybe next steps.
Great. And that is something I can bring to maybe our January just to show you all before the budget. I just didn't know how many data slides we definitely needed on here. So I thought school-wide, and my thought was if you can see this type of growth right here in achievement, growth and achievement here, then maybe you sort of know that our subgroups are making some of that growth too, especially when you look at us decreasing our beginning learners right here. So hint, hint, our subgroups, including Black, Hispanic, and Asian, and special ed especially, really, really made great growth on math and reading. And I'll bring some of that the next time we come. That's a good call out.
Another thing would be looking at not subgroups, but when we look at those bands of kids that are where they're growing, I see that we have a higher achievement level, but are those kids in the higher achievement level meeting those growth targets? Or are they kind of staying stagnant? Or, you know, which groups are the ones that are moving the most?
Yep. And so basically what Lena's saying is, are we moving all kids? Are our highest level learners growing too? Our gifted learners, are we still pushing them? And what I would say for that one is kind of take a look, just a little, hint on this one, take a look at our distinguished bands and how those are growing. Are they growing? Even if it's 2%, that can be 2% of 519. I mean, what is that and how many kids? And hopefully that gives us a little bit of idea on proficiency if our kids are moving from this band to the next. But I can bring some of that too. Now, I'll be excited. I know the next one, they're going to want us to talk about CCRPI, which I like because it gives really easy to understand hard data from last year too. And I do want to kind of show some of that.
Jay, I just want to ask one quick question. You said that our funding is impacted by quintiles. Is that correct? On milestones.
CCRPI is.
Oh, CC, not funding. I'm sorry.
Not funding, not
CRPI
funding.
score, and that's on milestones, not on this.
Exactly.
Okay.
So in our CCRPI score, our content mastery score is so high because we get more points for distinguished learners. And that's what you want. It's harder to get a distinguished learner. We could have 70% of our students on grade level as proficient, but they're all sitting in the proficient band and not the distinguished band. We wouldn't be nearly as high.
So we were in our grade level conversations around data. We were looking at kids who I had like 3 kids in math who scored in the 79th percentile. So if they would have gone up 1 percentile point, they would have been a whole different color band.
Right.
And I was like, we were kind of making note of those kids being like, all right, we're going to work really hard with these kids who are really close to the next color band. And so I'm sure that you guys are having the same conversations across grade levels and main campus, but I could see, especially when we looked at how close we were to some of those other schools in our data, just how a little bit of just like intentional, which I love about these mid-year assessments, it gives us a chance to really see what's going on, what's working, and who we need to hit. But just like a little bit of focus support on a few kids could go a really long way.
Can go a long way. We're going to get the bang for our buck to really when those subgroup students grow, because when our lowest level students grow, typically everybody's growing. And that's something that we'll take a look at, but that's a good call out as well. We haven't done our map data protocol just yet at Maine. We're going to do that in January.
Yeah.
All right, we talked about science. Any other notices, wonderings, or any questions that you might have? All right, let's jump into strategic plan. All right. This was our old strategic plan. This is the one I presented to you last time. It had different targets up here, and it was a little bit outdated in regard to our curriculums, right? They were a little bit misaligned over here. We also, some feedback you gave me was we didn't have any focus on BAS-BEST and how we're going to support that in our strategic plans. We had a lot of conversation in the last meeting around literacy rollouts. Textbook adoptions, sort of how that's going to impact our teachers. So I did a lot of work and learned about the new Georgia Department of Education literacy policy and what's going to be asked of teachers and schools really starting next year and towards the end of next year, but for the full time 25-26. So I felt it critical to add some of that verbiage in here because we know that literacy is a focus in the district, of course. But why don't we just be the first schools to have that new literacy policy and House Bill 538 written into our strategic plan so we know that that's a focus? That I felt that being important. When I heard feedback from you all, if anybody wrote me, everybody was in agreement that was on there. And in my email I sent, if you didn't have a chance to really dig into it, just take a look because it did have the vetted ELA curriculums on there that I sent that are being looked at by the state. And also it said the rollout was 25-26. And I think some people were a little concerned about the rollout happening next year and trying to rush it for second semester.
And Jay, is that correct? When I looked at it, our current ELA reading curriculum is not one of the vetted ones on the list.
It wasn't.
Yeah.
And I think originally I had heard it was, but it was not. And I will tell you, as a GOTeam, if we take a look at our end of year data and we're hitting these targets, so we're close and we're growing like we're growing now, we can have a conversation around some type of GOTeam flexibility. There is a form that GOTeam can fill out that requests flexibility on certain things. That's neither here nor there, nor do I know if that's even going to be allowed for a curriculum adoption. But of course, we can always have the conversation around what's going to be best for our school and our students. Here's our new strategic plan. So I want to just give you a couple updates. You may have it in front of you. If you do, you're an A+ student. So thank you for having that. If not, just put your glasses on and try and see if you can. I may be able to make it a little bigger. I don't know if I can on this. So I want to talk about just key updates. Yep.
I think when we updated this, I think on the 2 boxes in the front, I think the words ELA and math got cut off in the boxes.
Okay.
Does that
Which
make
one?
sense?
Which
Like
one? Where am I looking?
by the end of the 24 school year, all subgroups, including SWD, Black and Hispanic Asians, will increase proficiency. I think you just need to write ELA proficiency.
You're right. I'll do that. The first box is ELA. The second box is MAP. I must have left that part out. I thought maybe it said it below it, but I guess not. So
It might have gotten shortened with the box or something,
yeah,
just so
probably.
people know which is which.
Good. So I'll definitely adjust that. I don't think that's going to impact the voting at all. But thank you for that call out and catching that. This needs to say ELA and this one needs to say math. So just a couple updates that I want to read through them with you. 1A, I updated it to include Georgia DOE and Envision based on feedback. 1B, Envision Math is on there now. 2A down here, I talked a little bit around Orton Gillingham, structured literacy, and make sure that it aligned right here to priority number 2. 3A, I talked about common assessments. I added in Georgia DOE, Department of Ed, Math, Wit and Wisdom, and Right Score. Right Score is a writing assessment that we give, and I wanted that to be included in there because I think it all aligns to academic growth and literacy. Jump down to 4B. I updated that one to include Morris Brandon's autism regional program. If we're going to have a goal that's around special ed, I do think that we need to make sure that we're including our 2 regional units in there. I think somebody called out on that one in the last meeting. 5A right here. This one has to do with increasing systems of support. So I put in there some areas that we're going to send our teachers for professional learning. And that's going to be like we do a lot with Orton Gillingham. We do a lot with Complete Reading Series and with Metro RISA, which is an organization that helps us. And I wanted to include those in there. 5C is where I added in the BAS-BEST. So people were asking around how we're going to build systems to increase academic and emotional growth. I felt that would be the best place for that. So that's going to tie to our 3rd goal here, and you'll be able to see WCI stands for Whole Child Intervention. So that's that area that focuses on BAS-BEST and what we're going to do to help support those students in there. 6D has to do with our reauthorization. All I did was change the date. I think the old one said like 2015 or was 5 years. So I moved it from our 2020 evaluation because we know it's coming up in 2025. Down to 8B. This was big because we talked about increasing staff engagement, but I didn't feel like like how are we going to keep our staff or retention, right? So we have done so much work with our lead campus-based mentors and supports of our new teachers. So I wanted to include that in there. And you can see 8B, mentoring plan 0 to 3 years led by lead campus-based mentor. Right now, it's really just first-year teachers, but that would be the goal. 9A has to do with mentorship again. So now we're talking about leadership supported by mentors, something that I'm doing right now with a couple teachers. And then if you jump down, after 10, I added in number 11, and this is the big new one. Deliver faculty training and maintain or acquire certifications needed to satisfy the professional learning requirements as outlined by House Bill 538. For those that don't know, this is kind of the steps that we're going to have to start doing as a school. Successfully complete a Georgia Literacy Academy. That's going to be like an online self-paced course that that teachers are going to have to do, or an independent accredited teacher program, or earn a dyslexia endorsement, or enter teaching with a proficient GACE score after July 1st. We're still kind of seeing around what that's going to look like, but anyone who is teaching kindergarten through 2nd grade is going, this is K2 by the way, and I think I do need to add that on there, so I will include that in there. They need to have one of these types of trainings under their belt. We have submitted the trainings that our teachers have sort of already done to the district, and they're kind of compiling that, but I wanted to include that in there.
Is K2 or K3? Because I don't know where
K3.
I saw
I think it's
K3.
K3.
Okay.
Yes, thank you. K3.
Is the literacy, the new literacy bill, is the early dyslexia identification part of that?
It is.
Okay.
It
I didn't
is.
know separate.
Schools and school districts are going to have some type of early screener or dyslexia
Yeah.
screener.
Okay,
Yes,
that's
exactly. And that's kind of what a lot of this is based around.
got it.
Still learning myself. I do have a whole packet on the literacy policy. I think I linked it for y'all. It's very long, but you can sit down on a Friday night and make sure you read every page back to front. I think it'll be I know Kim will do that and update us all on it. So this is on you, Ashley.
Okay, so right now we are going to take action. We're going to vote.
Is there any more discussion? I think we did our discussion. I just want to make sure that everybody was sort of heard, but if we're ready, let's vote.
Anyone have discussion? Question?
Jay, I just have a question because we added the autism regional center. So they'll be included as our special ed students in addition to our regular special ed students.
They will. That is correct. However, their end of year assessment may look different. So I didn't write GAA in there, but most of the regional programs don't take the Georgia milestones. They take what's called a GAA, a Georgia alternate assessment. But we still have to find ways to measure their growth. They are taking MAP.
I have a question about the 5B, create a targeted interventions / extension block with staffed with intervention and gifted teachers.
Mm-hmm.
Is that, I know we moved, so what does that mean?
This was one that was already in there, so I actually didn't edit this one at all, but this has to do with in some type of intervention block that we're doing, like, doesn't have to be school-wide. I know first grade doesn't do it. Second grade has an intervention block. Third grade is doing intervention and doing phonics in third grade. And we're doing some gifted collaboration and so forth up at the main campus. So it's not necessarily school-wide, but it's basically a time during the day that we can
It can happen in the classroom.
Yeah, mostly in the classroom. But again, sometimes they'll rotate to teachers, like in second grade, and in third grade, they're rotating around too.
Okay.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Jay, I have a question, and I could have just missed it while I was driving, but if I'm looking at the school strategic priorities, are we saying that our number one priority is for students to have, mastery in math, science, and social studies?
Not yet. Those are just how I mapped them out on here. I'm going to show you the ranked ones in a minute.
Okay.
So that's a great question, Mindy. This is not our ranked. This is not what we ranked yet. This is not what we ranked. I haven't gotten it yet. This is just, I always outline it with well, it's really this category. Fostering academic excellence for all comes first. Culture of support is next. Empowering is next. And then like school support is last. That's just how they map it out. But let's do a vote, and then I'll go ahead and show you our ranked priorities. Ranked priorities to me are not the most important thing. I'm not quite sure why we have to do that. I think all the priorities are super important. Like they even say most important, least important. I don't like that. They're all going to be funded. We're going to make sure we do them all. But I think it's sort of a way that GOTeam can structure their efforts on like at least a few things. So we'll talk about that in just a second. All right. I'll hand it over to Ashley for the vote.
Yes. So, do you mind explaining like how we're gonna vote here? Tell us, like, are we gonna be ranking together? I need more explanation on like how.
I would just say somebody needs to bring a motion to approve the strategic plan.
Please bring a motion to take action on the strategic plan.
I would like to make a motion to approve the updated strategic plan.
That's Ashley Mathis. A second, please.
A motion to approve.
Thank you, Thomas. Okay, so
and then you can do all in favor of approval.
All in favor. Say aye.
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 Awesome. Looks like everyone. Is anybody abstaining? I can't see everybody, but does anybody not want to vote? Okay. So I'm thinking that everybody approved it. If you want to write all their names down, Kim.
Yeah, I got it.
Awesome. I think it's a great plan, y'all, and it includes everything in our school that is needed to keep that needle moving in the right direction. I
do want to say that, like, I know we have a lot of things about like mentoring, like obviously the newer teachers and stuff. I want to make sure that we reward or recognize, I'm not sure the right word, of the teachers that do take the time to be mentors, right? Like,
Yeah.
one more thing on their list. And so, and while it's necessary and important for, you know, our new teachers to get that support, I just want to make sure at the back of my mind, we're thinking about how we also support the teachers that are supporting the, you know what I'm trying to say? Like,
Yeah, no, you're right. Listen,
Um,
everybody wants more on their plate. I do hear you on that. I know it is not a lot, and then I know it's not, but I do pay them $750 to be a mentor.
and
Not a
it's
lot.
not like a money, and maybe
It's
it's
not a
not a
lot, but
money
it's a little
thing.
something. It's a little something.
Yeah, of course. And it's just more of like a recognition, right? I mean, and it's also just a recognition for all our teachers. Just looking at these scores, like, they're just amazing what they've been able to do from fall to winter. So,
That's great to hear that and to.
And Kim, at the main campus, I don't know who's leading the charge at Primary Center. Ms. Hopper has done a really great job with the
Right.
mentors and mentee of creating times to get together and celebrate each other. And yeah, there's been a lot of work around that.
Lena, are you a mentor?
I am.
Can you just tell them one minute around what we've done so far this year, maybe who your mentee is, if you feel comfortable, like real quick?
My mentee is another third grade teacher, and she's awesome, fantastic, Miss Moses. And we've done a lot of. We have a meeting once a week, or not once a week, once a month. Sorry, once a month. We've brought in people from APS that have come in and talked with our new teachers just about services that they provide. It could be anything from like health stuff, extra health services that they provide or programs that people just kind of don't know about. We also have done celebrations together. There was one around Halloween that was really fun. They brought in treats and a little like mocktail cart, and we just sat around it, and there were some topics of conversation that we had together and just had just kind of more like fellowship together. There's a form that we fill out that, you know, with topics that we discuss with our mentees, like for example, when parent-teacher conferences were going on, you know, we were charged with making sure that, you know, new teachers, if they had any questions regarding parent-teacher conferences or wanted just advice on how to share that data with parents. So they give us a list of things every month to kind of make sure that we are checking in, talking to our mentees about.
Awesome. And all the credit goes to the mentors and Miss Topper. I just kind of show up when I need to. So, you know, I can't own everything, but Miss Topper is our lead campus-based mentor. And shout out to APS that provides a district stipend of, you know, $1,500 or whatever to a lead campus-based mentor. Because they value that as well.
Jay, can I say something?
Yes.
About the fact that we have a line item to support new teachers, but that maybe, you know, maybe down the road there could be one later that's added that supports existing like veteran teachers, right? Because we do see a lot of retention issues with our veterans, not just our new ones. So I do think that's a really good point to bring up and to consider at some point. I don't think it needs to slow us down from moving forward with a strategic plan. But I do want to say this, I do think the stipends help, because I think in the past, I don't think it's everything, but there are people who end up taking on lots of little things around the building. And so it is something that kind of adds up when you're like, why am I doing this? Like,
Yeah,
okay.
and I'll tell you, like, I don't know how other schools do stipends, but I allot a lot of money for stipends, and I try and pay stipends to anybody that I'm asking really to do that extra work for. And we have a lot of them. I mean, like, we have website design, we have our B-mail, we have our bites, we have our lead campus base, we have our mentors. I mean, there's a whole lot of different stipends that we pay out. All right, so we voted on this. Let's keep rolling. Let's talk around our strategic plan. So I sent you guys a survey. We ranked our strategic plan. Let's take a look at our final rankings. And here they are. The most important, I see it says higher to lower. but the most important on average, I do have the numbers if anybody's curious to know like what the what the average was, but I don't think that's that important. But everybody said ensure students are reading on grade level and showing growth as it pertains to ELA. I found this valuable because 9 people took this, and the top 4 or 5 all fell really kind of under that like academic category. You know, like, oh, it wasn't like a lot of these down here. It was kind of like these top 4 here. So let's take a look at them real quickly. Number 1, reading on grade level and showing growth as it pertains to ELA. By the way, that's the district's focus. Number 1 right now, increasing literacy. But that's Morris Brandon too. Number 2, making sure our subgroups are making academic progress. 3, building systems that increase academic and emotional growth. That's the one that's sort of outside of the academic piece. And then we have math and science and social studies. So you can see that math, science, social studies, ELA, and reading are all reflected in the top 3 or 4. Then number 5 is that engagement and retention. 6 and 6 were absolutely tied, by the way. And I promise you I have the data to show you that. But these were tied. Building systems and resources to support IB, PYP, DLI gifted, and then building teacher capacity in core content areas. That has to do with that professional learning. So then we jump down to 8, building teacher capacity. Ooh, that's written on there twice. That needs to be a different one. Sorry, I've got to go back and figure out what number 8 was. But number 9 was deliver faculty training and maintain that a certification for House Bill 538. I will go back and email you all number 8. I copied that one twice when it really should have been twice there. And I think number 6 should be number 8. So that was my fault. I will send that out to you all. Number 9, deliver faculty training and maintain or acquire certifications needed. Number 10 is increase opportunities for student engagement. And number 11 is building culture through staff leadership opportunities. I don't know that's going to impact our vote. If you want me to, I can go back and clear up 6 and 6 were tied and 8. Or if we feel comfortable, we can just vote on a strategic priority ranking. But I will hand it over to Ashley in a second. If anybody have any questions, these are the same priorities that are on the strategic plan.
Hey, Jay.
Yep.
Jay, the one that was duplicated was ensure special ed students are making yearly gains in literacy rates and state targets for ELA.
That's what it was. Yeah, that's the one that we're missing on here, isn't it?
Yep.
So I can exit out of this if you guys want to give me 1 second and go to my other screen. I don't want to present it though because it does have everybody's name on it.
I will suggest that I think that we've acknowledged that here in the meeting.
Cool.
And I'm fine with editing that on the back end.
Cool. Yeah. All right, great. So yeah, but tied for number 6 was priority number 6. Let's see, priority 1, and then priority 4 and priority 6 were tied. So then number 8 should have been
number 4.
10. Yeah. I think you're right, Thomas. So instead of boring you and reading you like what the priority number is and having to align it up, if you feel comfortable voting on it, I'll just clear that up via email right after so you guys can see it.
I'm comfortable with that.
All right, cool. Well, then what I'm going to do is represent my my screen, and then we're going to go ahead and take that vote, close it out.
And Jay, I just want to make sure you got mine because it didn't look like it on the Excel sheet.
I know there's a couple people.
Okay, cool.
Yes,
I know I accidentally did it twice, but
yeah, I got you. I got the right one.
Okay.
Don't worry.
All right, cool.
So I'm going to hand this to you, Ashley. Again, the strategic priorities are going to be there no matter what. Why we rank them, we're not really going to revisit this that much unless we really have like a budget like issue that is so difficult that we need to go back to our strategic plan to figure out which one was above or below that. I've never had that issue yet, so I'll hand it over to Ashley to do the same thing.
All right. Can I have a motion to take action on our ranked strategic priorities? Do I have hear a motion? Anyone?
I'll make a motion to approve the strategic plan priorities as presented.
Thank you, Thomas.
I second.
All right. Thank you, Kim. All right. Any discussion or everyone in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay.
Okay. So our strategic plan, our strategic priorities are done. I will send those out to you all as soon as we're done. What I'll do is I'll just update the overall PowerPoint, send it out one more time so it's good for posting. So thank you for those call outs, Thomas and anybody else who let me know. And here's where we're going. I think we're meeting again. If you have that date, January, I want to make sure everybody has it.
Is that a virtual meeting or will that one be in person?
Everything will be in virtual right now, and then we'll call the in-person. We'll have to do an in-person in probably February. But right now in January, it looks like we're set on the what do you guys see? The 11th, maybe? 18th? No.
The 25th.
25th, the last one. So we've got about a month and a couple of weeks before we come back together on the 25th. By the time we come back on the 25th, I should have some budget information. I'm going to go ahead and tell you all now that I do have our projections for next year. And we're projected at having 890 students. This year we were projected at 871 and we came in at 887. Next year we're projected at 890 and I'm anticipating over 900. So we're going to get that money based on 890. Anything that comes over that we'll get 15 days into the year. I did ask them to adjust it to 900 if possible to get more money on the front end because I feel confident we're going to hit that number. And we'll see what they say. So just kind of basing everything off that 890 students with a base SSF of around $5,550 per student.
How many students do we have like today?
Today, 888. And we'll have more than that next year. And I have it by grade level. And the reason why I'm asking for more, and I will just tell you that I am not seeing the private school application flood like I've seen in the past. Typically by this time of year, I'll have 75 private school applications. I may have 15 right now. And a lot of that is 4th to 5th. So I'm hoping that we have a higher 5th grade class or those kids stay with us a little bit longer. Big shout outs to our parent involvement committee, our school tour, Ashley and Ina and Jenny Perry. We had a great tour this morning. I've done at least 2 or 3 this year already, and every one of them has had no less than 20 people. They all ask great questions. So the people are coming, they're coming back, and we just got to make sure that we can make it work with the money that we get.
Cool.
Ashley, if you want to hand it over to public comment, we can allow any visitors a chance to speak if they would like.
Yeah. You didn't have a cluster team report, right? There wasn't really anything.
No, we in our cluster team, we kind of just talk more about collaboration between all of the schools within the cluster, just getting collaboration like with elementary schools and also getting more activities with the middle and high school to kind of be more of a cohesive type of thing for the kids to transition from elementary to middle to high school and keeping all the kids on like the public school track.
Awesome.
Yeah. I have a meeting with the Sutton people in the spring to see if there could be like a DLI one where
Yes.
all like the DLI kids from all the schools. Like I did one off record when my daughter went to 6th grade, but it would be great if it was on record and like with the support of Sutton. So I'm working with that on the Sutton side.
There actually was last night, there was a call for the cluster advisory person. It was a call about sorry, my kid is like waiting, like, and it's distracting.
William, she needs like 5 minutes.
It's actually Eli, surprisingly.
Eli of all people.
William said hi, Mr. Bland. For feedback for different things that we're looking for in a superintendent. So we did have a Zoom call about that through APS last night. So they are actively looking for a superintendent and taking feedback from GOTeam about things that we're looking for in a superintendent.
Yeah, there's a survey out that you can.
Yes, and there is a survey out as well, and it closes tomorrow. So if you want to, it is completely anonymous. You have until tomorrow at noon to complete it. So any feedback that you have, you can enter in on that survey.
I think the board members are also identifying community members and a couple people from each of the Go teams to serve like on a sort of community superintendent feedback thing. So Jen McDonald reached out to me about it. I don't know how it's going to work, but I'd said I'd be happy to help and push up any feedback we have too. Just a quick announcement before we go into public comment. NAPS is doing next Tuesday a virtual meeting about helping kids cope with stress. And it is being put on by, it's like a counselor, right, Ina, of one of the NAPS members, but it's appropriate for kids with any ages, elementary, middle, and high school. So just to kind of strategies, resources, support. So we're going to put that in the, well, actually, we're probably too late for the B-mails. So maybe we could post it somewhere because it's Tuesday.
And it is a Zoom meeting. So it's on Zoom.
Yeah. It's next Tuesday, December 12th. So maybe, I don't know, we could put on the website, Ask Miss Leander or something. We're all going to share it on our social media too. Okay, sorry. Now that we're through the agenda here, is there anyone who'd like to come off and do a comment here? That is joining today.
I don't know if I'm the only member of the public of non-Go, but I appreciate the shout out earlier, Jay, and just the opportunity to join this afternoon. Appreciate everyone's involvement. I'm Kelly Shields. Jay already previewed my professional life. My daughter is in DLI in first grade. So we are on the DLI journey. And yeah, just grateful to be here and hope to join going forward, as I certainly have perspective and point of view about building school budgets. So that's all I'll say. I have nothing else to add, but hope not to be a stranger in your space going forward. So thanks for the opportunity.
Awesome.
All right. So I think anyone else out there? Okay. All right. So I think we are, any more announcements? I think we might be ready to adjourn. Is that right, everyone? All right. No additional business. May I have a motion to adjourn the meeting?
I can make a motion to adjourn the meeting.
Thank you, LaJoy. A second?
I second the motion.
Thank you, Ashley. All in favor, please say aye or raise your hand.
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
Okay, and I think we are adjourned.
Awesome. Thank you, everyone. We'll hope you have a great holiday. I'm going to close the meeting out and I'll see you January 25th. And I appreciate everybody's hard work. About halfway through, we got a lot to do. All right.
Thank you,
Bye.
guys. Happy holidays.
Bye.